Hello, I'm the Trek Lad, arbiter of good Star Trek, and this is my review of the first season finale of Star Trek The Original Series, Operation Annihilate. In this episode, the Enterprise battles to save Denver, a Federation colony that has been gripped by a wave of widespread madness. The crisis hits close to home for Kirk, whose brother-in-law is among the dead, and whose sister-in-law and nephew are fighting for their lives. On the planet's surface, the crew uncover the horrific truth. Denver has been invaded by a swarm of mysterious, brain-controlling parasites who control their victims with unbearable pain. When Spock is attacked and infected, he must rely on his Vulcan discipline to endure extreme torment while continuing the mission. But with time running out and millions of lives hanging in the balance, Kirk is forced to gamble on a radical, untested solution. A hunch if he's to save the world, his family, and one of his own. Operation Annihilate, what a great title that is, by the way, closes out the first season of the original series, and it's a good way to end the run. An episode that I think might be a tad underrated. It might lack that big season finale energy that we've come to expect from Trek season enders, but I think it still works well. A good example that classic Star Trek didn't necessarily need big ideas and loads of allegory to be great. Because at the end of the day, this is an episode that's all about finding a way to fry a load of parasitic alien invaders that kind of look like pancakes. I'm sure if we look hard enough we can find some deeper meaning, but sometimes it's just nice to switch your brain off, put your feet up and watch some TV. I love the premise with these parasitic aliens sweeping across the galaxy, invading planets and driving the population mad. They're kind of similar in concept to the aliens that we see in Independence Day, a race of formidable, locust-like extraterrestrials, although while they have the ability to take over human minds, hey Brent Spiner, they're probably better known for their fondness of blowing up famous landmarks. And we'd see something similar in later Trek 2, TNG's explosive first season episode Conspiracy, giving us another race of alien creatures bent on taking over the galaxy by controlling our minds and bodies and making us eat worms. Lovely. I like that the episode gives us the eventual solution in its first scene with the Denovan pilot crashing into the sun, declaring to a very confused Enterprise crew that he is finally free. At the time, this feels like a throwaway moment, but as we later learn, it will become a crucial revelation in finding a way to defeat the alien invaders. This feels like smart writing. A lesser episode would have been more than happy just pulling a solution out of its arse, but here, full credit to the writers, it seems like they had the ending in mind from the start, and this gives the episode a noticeable feeling of cohesion. Another scene I liked was our introduction to Denver, and our first, and really only, look at the extent of the grip these aliens had over the colonists. I like the use of Space City as Denver, back then a brand new complex that looked suitably futuristic. The setting also gives off a suitably creepy vibe, as well as a sense of loss, this seemingly fresh and exciting upstart colony, now cold and deserted. Ramping up the creepiness, though, is the small rabble of colonists who charge the away team, screaming, "Get away," while violently waving clubs at them. It's a really strange visual. These people are infected and clearly trying to do harm, but still able to communicate, warning Kirk and crew away. It's creepy and quite clever, and a really effective way to sell the idea that the colonists have been compromised. Contrasting the episode's big, almost unimaginable stakes, we have much smaller but equally dramatic ones for Kirk, whose family we learn are on Denver. He loses his brother Sam, soon followed by his sister-in-law, and his nephew lies in sickbay fighting for his life. The sense of tragedy is palpable here, and William Shatner gives another good and mostly understated performance. Of course, we get a few Shatnerisms peppered throughout the hour, but the heavy dramatic stuff is handled with a surprising amount of restraint, controlled grief that's very similar to how the captain handles the shocking loss of his son David in The Search for Spock. You feel the emotion from the captain, but it's never overplayed, nor does it feel exploitative. This is also a big episode for Spock, where we learn more about Vulcan physiology, specifically their ability to withstand incredible amounts of pain. We already know how tough and resilient Vulcans are, so to see Spock screaming and groaning in agony is a very effective way to underline just how excruciating these alien parasites must be. And Nimoy is excellent here. The episode does a great job visually communicating Spock's internal struggle, the way his emotions are bubbling just under the surface. It's obvious he's in pain the whole time, but he's doing his absolute best to try and suppress it. Nimoy conveys the struggle so well, these little hints of discomfort etched on his face, but always so subtle. It's a very good, very controlled performance that helps reinforce the idea that Vulcans do actually feel, but choose to suppress. They're not emotionless computers, they're just super disciplined, and this is one of the better depictions of that concept that I've seen. I also like the resolution where the aliens are defeated through light, a clever use of science and logical deduction that, like I said earlier, the seeds of which are planted earlier in the episode. They didn't just pull this out their arse. They worked it out. This brings together the classic trifecta of Kirk, Spock and Bones, working together to figure it out, and once they do, the aliens were always gonna be fucked. There's also this really lovely small moment between Spock and McCoy where Bones very quietly confesses his admiration for Spock, telling Kirk he thinks he's the best officer in the fleet. Aww. This is probably the closest the episode feels to a season finale, the payoff to nearly 30 episodes of the two going back and forth, bickering and chucking witty insults at each other. It's a moment that reveals the hints of love between the two, a nice moment of care from McCoy that I feel completes the bond between these three main characters. I mean, the two would pretty much be back at it from the next episode, but it's still a nice moment that adds so much to these characters. But here's the thing, this episode tries to do a lot, like a lot. It's a very busy hour, and while most of what we get here works, not all of it does. If it just condensed its material or tightened its focus a bit, I think this goes from being a very good episode to a great one. I mean, I can't fault the ambition, and I like that it goes big, but there's a lot happening here, and the episode suffers as a result. I guess we also have to address the big alien elephant hanging from the ceiling. The parasites themselves. Oh boy. They look terrible. I know I shouldn't be too harsh. It's an old show and the effects are what they are, but come on. These things look like fucking pancakes being thrown through the air. And I know, I shouldn't be judging TOS on production values, but I just can't help it. These things look silly, and it's hard to take them seriously as a threat. It also doesn't help that when Kirk and the away team encounter them for the first time, one of the crew turns, like, directly to the camera and says they don't even look real. Really playing with fire here. Another issue I have is the episode's limited scope. This is a colony of over 1 million people, and we're repeatedly told if Kirk can't find a solution, he might have to sacrifice them all in order to stop the alien threat. That's pretty bloody huge. And yet, aside from that mad welcoming party and like one other guy that tries to attack Spock, we don't see any of them. Even once the invasion stopped, there's no payoff. We don't see any shots of the people, no sense of relief, no one saying thank you, nothing. Just showing someone, just anyone from the planet would have helped. Instead, this all just feels very small in scale, not quite what you want from a story with these big, massive galactic stakes. And speaking of stakes, we've got to talk about Kirk's nephew, who gets brought up and mentioned a bunch of times over the course of the episode, over and over again, used to reinforce these emotional stakes for the captain. And yet, with the aliens beaten and the colony saved, we get nothing. He never even appears. He doesn't even get mentioned. It's bizarre. Now, I know they plan to do more with him, and there were apparently scenes planned that would have brought him back into the story at the end, but due to time constraints, this didn't happen. Still, the final product, the version that we see, feels off. The episode keeps reminding us that he's super important to the story, but then drops him entirely by the end. Lastly, the Spock blindness subplot just doesn't really work for me. It just feels redundant. The episode was already dramatic enough. Did we really need this extra layer of trauma? And it's all just undone in 5 minutes anyway. Turns out Vulcans have an inner eyelid. Who knew? It feels like an unnecessary twist tacked on for added drama, but it doesn't really add anything. The story didn't need it. All in all, this is a good episode, one that I think might be a little underrated. You never see it mentioned among the show's best. And while I wouldn't go as far as to say it's one of the all-time greats, it's still a solid entry. It's ambitious, it tries a lot, maybe too much, but as an example of an hour of action-driven Star Trek, this is a very enjoyable one, and for that reason, I'm giving Operation Annihilate a solid 7 out of 10. But what did you think of this episode? Did you love it? Did you hate it? How would you rate it? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more Star Trek reviews, and until next time, live long and prosper.